The revamped Croft circuit is the scene for rounds 13 and 14 of the season. Qualifying for the first race is about to start, so let's see who ends up with that elusive pole position. Well, there was very little in it, so we should be in for an excellent race.
Croft is the name of circuit number 7 in the championship, and where Audi has once again qualified on the pole, and I qualified a reasonable 9th. And the reason I say that is because, well, my car felt better than it has done the past couple of times I've attempted to qualify, but anyways, let's now go to the race itself. I'm inside the top 10, so let's see how it goes.
The cars are ready to start the first race, so let's join them down on the grid.
So we're on, and it's go for race 1 here at Croft. And already getting some wheel spin off the start. That's more or less what I would have anticipated. Already getting overtaken by the second of the 2 Volvos. I've got a bunch of faster cars right behind me, and giving a little bit of contact there with the second Volvo. I'm already up back into 9th position. I can definitely say that whilst my car feels looser around Croft, it definitely drives better than it has been doing, because even though the best qualifying time I could set was a 1:23.4, I can definitely say that was better than most of the lap times I set, because, well, to be completely honest, the medium setup actually works around a tight circuit such as Croft. So I put myself back onto medium sensitivity. I know my car feels looser, but at least I can say it drives better around this sort of racetrack because of how tight it is, and I can actually say I feel faster than I have done the past couple of times I've tried to do this and failed. And the main reason for that being because I have my low sensitivity and having to be hard on the brakes there with the Audi. And the Nissan also attempts to dive down the inside but fails, both of them going off into the grass at the hairpin as a result, and that now moves me up into 7th. I'm now closing in on the leading Volvo of Rydell, who was just up ahead of me, and getting past him now, up into 6th position now as I speak. I can definitely say my car feels faster on the medium sensitivity compared to the low sensitivity. My car definitely feels a lot looser as well as faster. Just having to punt the second Honda out of the way because I know he will just be a roadblock otherwise. That's one thing you have to learn to do in this game, unfortunately. Again, I'm saying this like Kyle Larson in saying I'm not proud of some of the maneuvers I do, but again, because of the way this game works, I more or less have to do it. It's also because, well, every point is on the line here, and I'm really going to have to try and limit the damage as much as I can to the 2 Renaults. Although one of the Renaults is behind one of the Volvos, which I can say is a boost of confidence, and I'm now already up inside the top 4, so... And I set my fastest lap of a 1 minute 24.97, and closing in on the second of the 2 Renaults now. This really is tremendous stuff I'm managing to put in here. And even though it's not a wet race, I can definitely say it feels tremendous, because my car feels a lot faster than it did during qualifying. And now 3.08 seconds to the second Renault. I'm going to assume that's Plato. Menu is more than likely going to be leading this thing, I would suspect. And Plato is now trying to clear the leading Honda, although he is not successful in doing so. And I'm now only 3/4 of a second behind him, as I am closing in on that leading Renault, that second Renault, and it would appear as though, and Plato brake checks me. I had to punt him out of the way because otherwise he would have just been a roadblock, and now he has been forced back into the middle of the field, and I now have a 1.7 second gap to the leading Honda. I'm going to suspect it's Thompson who is in the leading Honda, and I would suspect Menu is more than likely to be leading this thing, so it is fair to say I'm probably not going to win this race, but as long as I can at least manage to limit the damage going into race 2 here at Croft, then hopefully I will manage to do everything that is expected of me. It's also as long as I don't spin out too much. So I think I've got this figured out now. The medium sensitivity works well on the tight circuits, such as this one, and the low sensitivity works on the high-speed circuits. Because, well, this is technically a low-speed technical racetrack, and the two Hondas are really giving me a battle here, and going through there at about 40 miles per hour and slotting myself now up into second position. It has taken me only 4 laps to go from 9th up to second position, and I now have a 9.4 second gap to bridge to Menu, meaning I am really going to have to get the hammer down over these next couple of laps if I am going to be with any hope of catching him. And so, 4 laps complete, I am slowly closing in on Menu. It's now a 9.4 second interval to Menu, who I would suspect is in the leading Renault. And whatever happens with the rest of the field, I can only say happens. Although I really do hope Derek does manage to score points eventually. But again, I do have to really keep a hold of my car here, make it so I am at least trying to keep this thing under control. Because even though my car does feel faster, it also feels looser, meaning there are more opportunities for me to spin. But hopefully that will not be the case. But yeah, my car feels a hell of a lot faster than it did during qualifying. And is this going to be a new best lap time? Yes, it is. A 1 minute 23.3. And looks as though Menu is now building up his lead, so I think second seems to be the best I'll have to hope for, unless Menu gets held up by lapped traffic sooner or later. Of course, traffic is another one of the factors that seems to play quite a big part in deciding the outcome of these races. So I seem to be faster than Menu in Sector 2, but again, I've just spun out for the first time all race long. So that's not a great inclination, but at least I can say, wow, look at the Volvo go. I mean, where did he come from? He just immediately decided to basically thread himself up into third position for one reason or another. And the spin has now put me down to an 18-second interval, so I think second is going to have to be the best I can hope for, as long as these AI don't spin me out too much. I'm pretty sure that's what will happen sooner or later, because, well, these AI are over-aggressive, as I would expect them to be. But, again, there's still a long way to go in this race before we reach the end, and it's now down to 17.5 seconds in spite of my spin, so I've managed to find half a second. I seem to be the fastest car on track at the moment, as I am running in second position, and there also seems to be some chaos going on behind us, and as long as I don't spin too many times, then I would say second, unless menu gets held up by lapped traffic in the middle portion of the race. For race 1 at least, the best position I can really hope for is second. But yeah, so basically what I'm saying is you may need to change the sensitivity for each track you go to, and I think the next track I'm heading to after this is Thruxton. No, sorry. It's Knock Hill first and then it's back to... Sorry. So we have 2 more tracks to head to on the calendar. The first of those 2 tracks is Knock Hill, and then after that we are heading over to Snetterton. And then basically after that we are going back to a couple of circuits we've already been to, and the final 3 circuits we'll be going to on the calendar will technically be Thruxton, Brands Hatch and Silverstone as the 3 tracks I will be returning to. And I'm steadily closing that interval now to the leading Renault. I'm going to suspect it is Menu who is leading this race, and I will try my hardest to close in on him because I pretty much need every point I can get if I'm going to put myself back in the championship lead. And is this going to be a new best lap time? Wow, I just had a ton of speed through that hairpin because I'm on the loose setup, and indeed it is a new fastest lap, this time a 121.7. So with me driving on the medium sensitivity, my car definitely feels looser but faster around the Croft circuit. I'm definitely going faster than I would have suspected I was going to. I mean, I thought for sure I was going to be at least in the low 122s at best, but I can definitely say that's a considerable improvement over the lap times I've been previously setting. So I seem to be looking good for second at least, as of which I've only had 1 spin so far in this race, and as long as I don't have too many spins in the race up to this point, then it is fair to say I should be on course to having a good result. I know that Menu may extend his interval by 3 points to add to that 6-point advantage he already has, but I do think it's possible for me to close that interval before the end of the season, as of which last time out at Donington I got 2 crucial wins that were there for me to basically beat Menu outright on both occasions, and looks as though the gap at the moment is pretty much stabilising, but again, we still have a long way to go in this race before we reach the end. And hopefully all should be well. Had a little bit of a dab there on the brakes, just so I don't spin again. And 10.6 seconds is now the interval, so I'm definitely closing in on the Renault, it would seem. And is this going to be a new best lap time? And no, it isn't. But it's fine, because it's now only 9.3 seconds to the leading Renault as it currently stands, as it is now the Peugeot of Patrick Rotz I am closing in on. So the Peugeot really needs to get out of the way, and he is doing just that. He is letting me go by, as I would have expected him to. This is clearly not his title fight, and it's now under 9 seconds to menu, so it is fair to say we still have a long way to go in this race. Anyways, 8.2 seconds is now the interval, and oh, okay, I actually didn't think I was up in 5th gear through there. You know, on Channel 5 not too many years ago, there was actually a program Tiff did called 5th Gear. I mean, it was basically Channel 5's alternative to Top Gear. And even though it wasn't quite as popular, I did hear Tiff was one of the main hosts on that show. I think if I'm not mistaken, another one of the hosts was called Jody Kidd, but I really couldn't tell you for sure because, well, my knowledge doesn't expand that far back. Anyways, I am steadily closing in on menu. It's taken me 11 laps to get up to this point. He's being held up behind the Ford Mondeo. I'm definitely closing that interval all the time now. I'm now only 0.6 of a second behind menu, who seems to be held up by the Ford Mondeo. I am hard on the brakes, making sure I do not plough into the back of the Renault, plough into the back of the Mondeo. And now we are almost at the halfway point of this race. And gonna take my time through here. I'm not going to force menu into a mistake just yet. And doesn't look as though he has the pace to pull away from myself and the Vectra. And he's now coming up on another one of the Ford Mondeos that seems to be just up there in front of him. And I'm steadily closing in. I've only had one spin in the race so far, and not really seeming to make any passing manoeuvres on menu at the moment, but it's still all to play for, as we still have another 12 laps to go following this one. And getting on the brakes early enough, and the medium sensitivity really seems to be working wonders for me, as I am now fighting for the lead and overtaking the Renault in the process. He tries to give me the bumper, but I'm not having it, and whilst I am still trying to negotiate the lapped traffic in front of us. I am now officially up into the lead. So, anyways, now on to lap 14 here in the first race at Croft, and it seems as though, unless I make a ton of mistakes from here, this could potentially wind up being a win, the way I see it. So, it is fair to say I've definitely got the momentum to do it. It's just a matter of knowing if I have the competency to do it. And so, now beginning to start another lap, and overlapping the Nissan of Anthony Reid and also the leading Peugeot of Tim Harvey. And there is only my second mistake of the race, but somehow the damage was very limited, and I've now dropped down to second once again, but fortunately nothing too regressing, even though it is a even though it is a 3-second interval now to the leading Renault, so I just have to hope I don't make too many more mistakes from here, and if I can manage to fight my way back up into the lead, then it is fair to say I will do so. So, I am steadily closing in on Menu once again. This has been a pretty interesting race, to say the least. Definitely better than the F1 race that was on a couple of hours earlier. It was just another typical Red Bull Max Verstappen domination run. Wouldn't have really expected anything else. Having to force Menu out of the way there, he was not prepared to lift. I really had no other choice but to force him out of the way. And that's now basically handed the lead over to me on a plate. So, 10 laps to go here in the first race at Croft, and if Menu does not manage to score the pole in the second race and I'm able to successfully achieve and it looks as though the Peugeot is now closing in on my teammate. That of course is Derek Warwick, and just forcing him out wide so Derek can get his position back. Of course Derek is my teammate. I do have to play the team game to an extent, even then of course if he is clearly not fighting for points. But even then, Derek could very well be in the points if one of the top 10 runners were to drop out for one reason or another. As of which, it has been pretty hectic with the top 10 runners, but again, I would say by now they've pretty much sorted themselves out. And just checking to see if my laptop is still capturing this. Thankfully it is. And so it looks as though Up to this point, I'm now slowly but surely pulling away from menu. So, if you really do want to know how to set a blistering lap time around Croft, just bump the sensitivity up to medium and then your car will basically feel like a bat out of hell. In terms of speed, but not necessarily to drive, because, well, your car will feel looser to drive, but again, it won't feel like a bat out of hell to drive. But yeah, that's pretty much what sort of lap time speed I'm setting here at Croft, and my voice at the moment is very dehydrated. So it is fair to say I might have to put myself on mute for a lap or two, just so I can get my breath back. But anyways, I now come through the final corner and I set a new best lap time as a result. A 1:21.0 is now my new best lap time, and my car feels a lot faster than it did on the low sensitivity setup, and at the moment I am clearly pulling away from menu. Although, dependent on knowing if I can overlap him or not remains to be seen. But anyways, just trying to keep the sensitivity of my car under control. I do know how easy it is to lose control of this thing, and even though I am more or less having glitch effects on my laptop at the moment, at least I can say it is managing to capture the footage. And even though it is having its freeze frame moments, I can at least say at the moment it's nothing major. But anyways, so overlapping the Peugeot once again, and I am now pretty much well out in front of menu up to this point. I have no idea what menu seems to be doing at the moment, so if I do end up going for a spin at some point in the later stages of this race, then I can pretty much afford to have probably one spin, maybe even two spins at best, if I'm able to keep my shit together. And it does surprise me to see how, even though I have been making mistakes around the course, I've not been making any mistakes critical enough to spin my car around, and that does surprise me. And subsequently, for one reason or another, that does in fact surprise me. Anyways, 20 laps are now complete. We still have another 5 laps to go. And I think I'm closing in on one of the Renaults. It could be that, or it could be one of the Ford Mondeos, as of which their pace is practically well off that of the leaders. And yep, there's my second spin. Well, at least I can say Menu wasn't behind me. But yeah, everything at the moment seems to be going very well, all things considered. So, at least it will mean from here, I will effectively slice that gap down from 6 points to what will now be 3 points. This is very much damage limitation, and then after this I can basically go like hell, more or less. But anyways, so 21 laps are now in the books, and we still have another 4 laps to go from here. And as long as I don't spin too many times, then I should be en route to what could potentially be my 3rd race win in a row, the way I see it. Although I still don't have the consistency to stay on track and deliver the lap times that I more or less want to be delivering. Well, I'm just gonna cope with whatever my laptop is giving me up to this point, and basically, as long as it's still recording, then I honestly don't care. And I am now closing in on the leading Nissan, it now looks like. I'm going to assume it's David Leslie who is in the leading Nissan. And up the inside, he lets me through. He's clearly not fighting me, and he spins out as a result. Although I really have no idea where my teammate is in contrast to where Leslie is. But it looks as though Derek is once again going to miss out on scoring points, as of which his best result of the season up to this point is still '11th. He has not yet had a finish in the points, and I really do wonder how long it will be before he does manage to finish in the points. I'm hopeful in saying he will score at least 1 point before the season's out, but I can only be hopeful up to this point, and so 2 laps to go now. Again, managing to save my car in the process. And my laptop is falling well out of picture with my... And my laptop up to this point is now falling well out of picture with where my fucking Vectra is. Okay, I think I'm gonna mute myself now because my voice is clearly dying, and I've just gone for another spin.
new Vauxhall driver has done it again, taking the checkered flag in style. Here's how the race finished.
Oh, alright. So, apparently Menu fell back in the later stages, and it was Gabriella Tarquini who took second in that race in the first of the two Hondas. Thompson comes away fourth ahead of Bieler, Plato sixth ahead of Rydell, Burt once again finishing ninth, and David Leslie once again rounding out the points positions for Nissan, and Derek once again just outside of the points, but hopefully he will manage to score at least 1 point before the season's out. And then at the back you have Reed ahead of the two Peugeots and two Fords. And so that shall do it for race 1, and next time we will be doing race 2.